For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast. Over 40 years of playing PlayStation and 10 plus years in that games meaning Obama. Thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations with us, you can. Come and check out our fake Facebook, our Instagram, Twitter, Discord. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to our very real twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are listening to podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, as I endeavor to answer every single comment. If you want to support us financially, you can at our very inactive Patreon at patreon.com/thepopculturist. Or you can head over to our merchandise store, go to popculture.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Sorry, we've had interesting fun in the chat here on Twitch. We've got Max sipping gin and tonics before he goes to work. Chat's having a blast. Mod BZ's there, and mods are very handsome. That is true. Oh, hey, they're handsome. Oh, they called us handsome. Tons of fun. We had someone coming in before, telling us we should buy some subs. We've got someone saying, hey, they made a fake Instagram for us. And I was like, oh, that's cool. We'll be able to use our one, so that's fun. And then, of course, there's all the regular usuals coming in and having a damn bit of fun. Hi, Max. How's the pre-drink?
Yeah, not too bad.
So what are you sipping? What's you sipping today?
Just gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic, but it's not just gin. It's fancy pants gin.
I mean, it's fancy blue gin that turned pinkish purple when I added the tonic water.
He's such a gamer, ladies and gentlemen, and wherever you choose to sit on the gender spectrum. RGB
my drinks.
Yeah, he has RGB. He's that much of a gamer. He has gamified drinks.
Yeah,
fucking nerd. How's your week been?
Not too bad. I mean, it's been fun.
It started aggressively. Holy shit.
As usual, worked Monday to Friday. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. But on Saturday, we took our kid to a few Kinder open days.
Ooh.
Because we have to start getting ready for Kinder. And we found one in Torquay. We went down there. We had a blast.
But by the time you move to the new space, that's not so far away.
It's only 15 minutes from where we are now. Like, it's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were there for about an hour talking to the teachers. It was kind of just we were the only people there, which was cool. So Hadley kind of got to play with all the staff, have a look around. She got really excited because they have a pet turtle that she got to take out of the tank and play with. And then she turned around and she's like, the person who runs the kindergarten's like, just out of curiosity, when does Hadley turn 3? I'm like, oh, she turns 3 this year, just before Christmas. And she's like, oh, so she'll be already 3 when she does 3-year-old kinder. I'm like, yes. She's like, are you aware that will mean that she will be 17 for her entire year 12 life?
Oh, this kindergarten teacher knows what's up. Fun fact for those that may not be Australian, the legal drinking age in here in Australia is 18. The final year of high school is the year that you presumably turn 18. As someone who turned 18 in November of their year 12 year, I feel Hadley's potential pain here. Because I had to wait a very long time. To make it even worse, my birthday is the first week of, the first week of November, right? And where are all year 12 exams? First week of November. So I couldn't even have fun.
So she's like, is that something that you want to deal with, or do you want to wait a year and let her go to do them all essentially a year later? And then it's just you either do like 3 years of kinder instead of 2, or you know, and you start her a year late, then she's 18 for her entire year 12. Mum suggested that she does 1 year of 3-year-old kinder, 1 year of 4-year-old kinder, and then has a gap year in Queensland with my parents
Gap year?
before starting school.
She's fucking 5. She'll have a gap year. What the hell?
Go caravanning around Australia.
I did have a little bit of a chuckle because essentially in the Twitch chat, twitch.tv/popculturist, if you want to join the show live every Sunday night. Essentially the chat is in unison of like what's the presumption that she's going to finish, not have to repeat any years. So they are questioning the current educational ability of your child preemptively.
Because like I cheated a little bit. So in Australia, the legal, when you get your Ps to drive by yourself, it's 18. However, it's 17 in some states. So I pissed off to a different state and got my license and came back. So I could drive a year earlier than everyone else in Victoria. Mm-hmm. So although I wasn't 18, I couldn't go out. I could at least drive all my friends.
Yeah. So look, I Shane mentions it in the chat as well. As someone who was 18 in year 12, I was annoyed at my 17-year-old friends who had to plan schoolies around. That's this guy. I was the one that fucked up everyone's plans. Completely.
Well, see, we didn't have that problem because our schoolies, we didn't go. We went to Lawn and just stayed at someone's holiday house and just got wasted in private. So it didn't matter if people were under. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it just depends on, we'll see what happens. But she's definitely going to kinder next year. So.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, it's exciting times, man. Like it's because like my boys in school, and it's crazy times. Like they age up real quick, and you go, oh.
So like I reached out to a few people. I'm like, hey, do you have any recommendations? And I was talking to my auntie. I'm like, hey, do you have any recommendations? Just like. So like it's been a while since I've had to send a kid to kinder, but I'm doing high school applications. You got any ideas? And I'm like, it's been a while since I've been to a high school.
Yeah, it's been like 12 years since I finished high school at least. Wait,
yeah.
No, fuck, 14 years. Holy shit. Damn. That's been a long ass time. But my week has not been too bad. Just working as I have been. No random wrestling shows this week for the first time in what feels like forever. I do have one next week and one the week after, so prepare for that.
Midweekers or weekenders?
No, just weekenders. That's but other than that, like, so it is my dad weekend this weekend. I had my boy. So we spent this weekend just hanging around, gallivanting. So as all kids in there, like between the ages of 5 and 10, just seem to have this obsession with YouTube and like watching bullshit let's plays and stuff. So hence why my son is so much in love with Hello Neighbor. He's since fallen down the dreaded Five Nights at Freddy's hole, which I'm not stoked about. But yeah, so on Saturday we went to the local pub.
Are you not stoked because of like it's horror themed, or that it's just a garbage game?
It's a garbage game. It's a garbage game and a garbage franchise. That's the part that's bumming me out. Like Hello Neighbor's kind of fun, and like the latest Five Nights at Freddy's, like Security Breach, whatever. That seems okay. Like seems better than the old ones, but. There are two particular characters in the new Five Nights at Freddy's, Sundrop and Moondrop. Fucking know what it is. It's some character that chases you around in the game. My son's like, I want toys of it. I'm like, I don't think that's possible, but he was pretty serious about it. So we went to Pop Culture, we went to Toy World, we went to like Kmart and all that, the other, and find nothing. Turns out there's none available in the country at the moment, just period. There's not released here yet. I'm like, haha, sucker. Yeah, so we ended up just doing that, and then we spent the day just hanging out playing games, which was a ton of fun. So I guess that'll transition to what games we've been playing. So my son is he's very much on the idea. My son he's very much getting into games now, and he's very much likely going to be ADHD like me. So. I'm starting to see those things come through with him just like jumping between games like constantly. Like today alone, we played the DLC for PJ Masks, because we finished. We started Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. We played this Goosebumps point and click game for a while. We played... Oh, what else did we play today? We went back into Dreams. So Max and I did a stream like 4 years ago where we played a bunch of games on Dreams. And my son loves it, and he watches it all the time for some reason. And there's one particular game that we played. It's this really like Silent Hill inspired horror game. My kid loves horror games, clearly. And so he goes, out of nowhere, we're sitting on the couch and we're playing whatever. And he goes, what about that spooky game? The one with the door shut by itself and you said, fuck. I'm like, you got to narrow that. You spent a really wide net here, dude. That happens a lot in spooky games that I play, and
that happened in real life this morning.
Yeah, I do swear a lot, mate. So you're gonna need to be more specific. And he's like, "Oh, it's the one that you and Max did on the games. You know, there was the racing game and the game with the hand and the cooking." I'm like, "Oh, Dreams. Why did you think of that all of a sudden?" So we downloaded Dreams and went back and played a bunch of those old games that we did in that stream, which were a ton of fun. And yeah, no, it was really, really good. But so we've got to sort of sprinkle us over a platter of different games today, which was fun. But the whole time I'm sitting there going, I wish I could be playing Cult of the Lamb right now. How good is Cult of the Lamb? I wish I could play that. And here he is playing some bullshit kids game. I'm like, Cult of the Lamb, though. That would be nice. Speaking of Cult of the Lamb, I have been playing. That's probably the only game that I've really spent a lot of my time with this week. Now we will preface as well. We have it's up on the socials. We have received a copy of The Last of Us Part 1 from PlayStation Australia. Obviously, hard zip until embargo date, which is like 1st September.
End of
I
the
think.
month.
It's the end of the month.
End of the month.
So keep an eye out for that later in the month. Beginning of next, there will be some stuff coming. Obviously, can't do shit right now. But other than that, Cult of the Lamb, still playing it. I'm on the last bishop. There's the 5th one apparently, which I didn't consider until just recently. I'm like 18-ish hours deep, which for me is a long time to focus on one game. Like that's a long time. So I'm really, really enjoying that. And that's been a ton of fun. Like my cult is ranked to the maximum tier. I'm pretty much just collecting shit at the minute. Like almost everything on the skill tree is done. I've got all the doctrines, all the this, that, the other. I'm now just piss farting around and keeping the momentum going while I head into the next bishop. And game's still really, really good. One of the things I love about it is that it lays the groundwork really early on. It kind of goes, here are the mechanics. It doesn't like add or grow or, I mean that in terms of like, it doesn't overcomplicate it as you progress. It goes, this is what it is. Things just get stronger. Cool. And then you go. And then like, so even 3 hours in, 6 hours in, 9 hours in, 15 hours in, 20 hours in, it's still the same game. It's still the same loop. But to me, that's not a bad thing. That kind of hits that part of my brain that loves farming sims so much, because it's like, oh, cool, I know what I'm getting. I don't have to relearn and expand my knowledge on these different skills and moves and this, that, the other. I can just come in and go, it's still the same thing? Sweet. Let's keep that grind going. Let's run it again. Let's get more resources. Let's get more followers. Let's keep pushing through till I get to that bishop. Game's so fucking good. So fucking good. So good. Because you haven't touched it in a couple of days, have you?
No, it's been a couple of days since I've played it, so I'm about 12-ish hours in. I'm the same as you, so I've done the first 2 bishops. I'm on the 3rd. I've pretty much capped my tech tree. I've done most of the doctrines. I got a guy who runs around my base being like, "Oi, you owe me money." So I've just got like this constant stream of money coming in, which is awesome. I find that I'm now at the point where if I walk in, because when you start a run, you get offered a curse and a weapon. And if my curse or weapon's garbage, I just leave. I'm just like, fuck this. I can't be bothered trying to I know I'm not going to get very very far with this, and I'll just leave. I'll just leave the dungeon and then go back in and see what I get, because I only like the dagger.
Oh, I love the battle axe. Fuck the hammer. The battle axe all the way.
If I get offered the dagger, the axe, or the claws, I'm all for it. If I get offered anything else, I leave. Because they're all garbage.
It's similar to Hades, right? You walk out and you go, "Oh, go back." You know, it's all good. But like, the game's brilliant. Like I just do the run anyway, even if it's a poo weapon. Because look, best case scenario, I get so far and I just fucking scoot myself out of there. But yeah, no, the battle axe is the way to go. I have the most success with the battle axe, like every time. Yeah, no, it's so fucking good, so fucking good.
I've also spent some time with Rollerdrome.
Yeah, so big thank you to the dev team who provided us the code for Rollerdrome. That's Private Division, and what's the name? The guys that make Oli Oli World. It's gone. Keep chatting and it'll come back to me.
So it is basically
17? No.
You thinking of Team 17? Anyway.
Hangar 13. But no, I'm thinking Hangar 13. They're the guys that made Mafia. Also part of Private Division. Oh, Roll 7. Thanks, Buck.
So this is a kind of sort of roller derby game, but with guns and not so much roller derbying. So you're essentially a skater, and it's the easiest way to kind of explain what it is. It kind of reminds me of a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater level. So there's tasks or essentially optional quests to do in each one, and you go through and you try and defeat waves of enemies. And the enemies change as you progress. I'll play the first 3-ish, 4-ish levels. So at the moment, I only have 2 weapon types. You've got your basic pistols, and I have access to a shotgun. So the fun of this game is, as you're shooting, you run out of bullets. To get bullets back, you need to do tricks. So you go up your ramps, you do your spins, you do your flips, and that recovers your ammo. You can then essentially enter bullet time and just go pew, 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 and just like shoot everyone as you're flipping around in circles doing your sweet tricks, therefore gaining ammo whilst you're shooting, which is really cool. It has a dodge mechanic in which enemies will shoot back at you. Each enemy type has a different weapon. That I've run across snipers, rocketeers, and just guys who just try and bash you with bats. So you can just dodge roll through them. You get bonus points if you do essentially perfect dodges. You kind of the game slows down a bit, allows you to shoot them back. The rockets that are shot at you, you can shoot out of the sky. And then the different enemy types themselves. So, there's your usual standard grunts who are you just shoot them. But, some of them have shields once they get shot once. So if you don't kill them quick enough, they get an overshield. You have to wait for that shield to drop. Some enemies have riot shields, so you have to blast them with the shotgun to break the shield before you can shoot them. The shotgun's awesome in the fact that when you shoot it normally, it's a pellet shotgun. But if you use the bullet time, there's basically like a little timer on the crosshair where the two sides meet, and it becomes a slug shotgun, so it works better from a range. I've had a load of fun with it.
Yeah. The example that I heard the other day was like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater meets My Friend Pedro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because admittedly, I've wanted to spend some time with it, because this is the one game that what was it? Was it in the PlayStation? Was it a State of Play?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my god, Rollerdrome looks so good." It looks like bomb. None of it looked appealing to me. It looked empty. The art design looked a little bit shit. Now, I admittedly haven't jumped in on it. I did plan to this weekend, but my son takes priority, so I didn't play it. Yeah. So will I be disappointed still, Max? I know you're having a ton of fun with it.
So I think I mentioned to you the other night, I don't think it's for you. I don't think it's enough Tony Hawk's-ish to bring you in.
Okay.
Because it's very simplistic in its tricks. The core gameplay is not the trick, it's the shooting. The tricks are kind of just there as this is how you reload, this is how we're going to function this is how we're going to throw that function into the game. Mm-hmm. So instead of just being boring and like picking up an ammo drop or pushing square to reload, you do some sweet flips. You can grind, you can flip, it's cool. Like I enjoy it. It's really fun. You can get in, knock out a level in a couple of minutes. It's one of those pick up and play games. I can't see myself ever sitting there for a prolonged period of time and just like smashing it out for hours on end.
Yeah, but I would argue that that's kind of like Roll 7's deal.
But
like
that's,
even Ollie
that's
Ollie,
not,
like Ollie Ollie, Ollie Ollie 2, Ollie Ollie World.
Yeah.
Like you can't sit at it for a long time because it's a little.
It's
just repetitive enough to go.
But that's not a knock against this game.
No, not at all. Like even with those previous games that I just mentioned, like they are really, really good. They are made very well. It's just that like can you sit at it for too long?
And then lastly, I checked out a very old game.
Oh.
I have been playing The Order 1886.
Wait, you picked that up off me like this morning. So fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, Max hits me up yesterday. He goes, "Hey, you have The Order?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "I want to play it." I'm like, "Cool, I'm home all day, come grab it." Doesn't fucking rock up at all yesterday. Doesn't tell me he's not coming. I leave my gate open. I'm like, just wander on in.
Would have been helpful if you left your gate open today.
Yeah. Well, because you said like, and then I get a message this morning. Can I still come around? I'm like, sure. He goes, and then about 10, 20 minutes later, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get out. I'm like, yeah, no worries, whatever. I'll leave the gate shut. And then a little bit later on, you home? I'm like, sure. So he rocks up, proceeds to have difficulty opening my gate because he has one hand apparently. But yeah, and then
anyway,
you grab the order and head home, and I presume you've touched it slightly.
I've played it for about an hour and a half. Okay. So early impressions of a very old game. This game looks so washed out.
Yeah.
Like on my 4K screen, this game looks so washed out, and you can feel its clunkiness. But it seems cool.
Okay, look, Craig in the chat does confirm my gate is shit. So yeah, it is.
But that's all I've been playing.
Well, how have you found does it, because as you said, like it looks its age. Does it feel its age in how it plays? Because I tried to play it a little while ago, but I was playing it on a much smaller. Here I'm going to talk about my TV. On a much smaller TV, it was actually really shit to look at. So
it's super clunky. It felt like I was playing. Yeah, about 45 QTS.
Sorry, in the chat, Reverend Pucktimson goes an hour and a half in. That's like 45 QTS because this game is essentially a glorified movie. Not a bad thing though, because apparently it's fun.
It felt like I was playing. What's that Xbox third-person shooter with the chainsaw gun?
Oh, what, Gears of War?
Yeah, it felt like I was playing fucking Gears of War. I felt really super
Gears of War out of your ass.
It felt like I was like super heavy and slow, and
admittedly my brain went to Warhammer Ultramarine. Yeah. And then like, wait, no, that came to PS3. So you have to like, that was a lot of my brain process real quick.
Yeah. I just felt like you play this
Quantum Break.
Quantum Break. You play this skinny-ish dude, but you feel like you're about 3 times the size. It's very slow.
So heavy in the order.
Slow and clunky, yeah. But it seems cool.
It seems cool. Single fucking chainsaw in Quantum. Fucking hell.
Until Dawn.
It's only on PlayStation, it's not even on fucking Xbox. Oh shit. I'm pretty sure that's all I played this week. Yeah, this coming week is pretty much just going to be Rollerdrome, Finishing Lamb, and Last of Us. But I think Saints Row's right around the corner too. So
yeah, Saints Row is like 2 days away. I think.
Oh,
23rd that it comes out, right?
Oh, I'm lucky that the box crops about here because there's some hard nips going on right now. I don't know why, but I'm like we'll talk about it later. But I'm itching for Saints Row for some reason. Itching.
All right.
Let's get into the section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation.
I'm gonna preface it because of the way that I structured the news doc. I'm taking all of the Sony related news, and you can just go into the next main one. Okay. Otherwise, you're gonna end up talking about Final Fantasy for ages.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
All right. So the first one's very quick. Ooh. Sony PlayStation Plus Premium have decided to take the month off. No additional games have been added to the PS Plus Premium tier. That means there are 0 extra PS3, PSP, PS2 or PS1 titles this month, only its second month into the service. Also, they did do a timed exclusive Rollerdrome trial because it is a PlayStation bonus. They promised you an hour. Users have been reporting that they're only getting 35 minutes of a trial.
The fuck, PlayStation? The fuck? Now, look. Last week.
All the games that were added this month, obviously they came to everything, but they came to the extra tier. There was no premium only editions.
It's disgusting. Look, we talked about this last week, and I don't want to bitch about it all again because I think it's fucking insane. All this demonstrates is that Sony had no preparation in the release of this PlayStation Plus Premium. Something that we knew about for fucking what felt like years. The rumor mill on this service was endless, and yet it comes out and they go, "We fucking knows, right?" It's insane to me. The reason that people are, I talked about this last week, the reason people are paying for premium, it's not for, game trials for some, I guess, but the people that you want to pay this much aren't people that haven't played those games before, the trial games. These are your die-hard fans. These are the ones that want to play your PS1 and your PS2, your PS3 games, if you could here in Australia. That is what they're paying the money for, you fucks. Are you serious? And they go, nah, we're not giving you any. You gave us 17 fucking Assassin's Creed games that no one wants because, I don't mean to alarm you, one Assassin's Creed game is too many Assassin's Creed games. You get 3 different versions of fucking Monopoly, a garbage Wheel of Fortune. It's fucking, I literally cannot understand it. You are 3 months in. Yeah, there's teething, but you should have your first couple of months lined up, ready to go, because that is what you need. You need people to be dumb enough, like us, I guess, to pay years in advance and go, oh. And you can tell that there's a reason that they made everyone just completely upgrade themselves and not do it in a relative time, because they knew it was going to be a shit service. They knew they knew they had nothing. Simple as that. Because everything that's been shown to us right now, everything that's been uploaded, is essentially everything part of Ubisoft Plus. The Yakuza deal, sure, I guess probably the only thing. But then again, Game Pass had all the Yakuzas first. It's just evening it out. It's fucked. And Shane in the chat mentions the point here. Maybe they hired the person that runs games with gold. This was the greatest concern about the idea of the premium service. But PlayStation have fucked it up. Xbox over here killing it with Games Pass. But their games with gold sucks hard ass. PlayStation go, haha, that's not how we do it. Your basic ass PlayStation Plus games, mint. Fucking fantastic. The subscription service? Fuck that. Yeah, nothing. Jack shit. The fuck is wrong with this company? Am I just bitching for the sake of bitching, Max?
No. I mean, I think I made the same comments last week. It's ridiculous. They're 2 months in now, and they're
3 months in now. 3.
Is it 3 months? I thought it was only 2. I thought we got it at the end of June.
I don't mean to alarm you. 3, still not acceptable. 2, really not acceptable. So true. Whichever numerical value of months it is, still fucking dumb. Unreasonable. It's insane.
Yeah. Alright, next up we have Days Gone But Not Forgotten. PlayStation Productions has a Days Gone film in the works, with Outlander actor Sam Heughan lined up to play Deacon St. John. A new report from Deadline claims. The article says Sheldon Turner is adapting the game for the big screen, an Oscar-nominated scribe with credits on The Longest Yard and X-Men First Class. One of those movies was good, one of them was about mutants. The script...
I was going to say, pick which one.
The script will be, quote, a love ballad to motorcycle movies. The bike being Deacon's sole form of transportation, his horse in this would-be modern-day Western. End quote. If true, which it probably is, coming from a reputable source like Deadline, then the Days Gone movie will join Ghost of Tsushima, Gran Turismo films, as well as The Last of Us, Twisted Metal, God of War, Horizon, and Gran Turismo TV shows as upcoming projects from PlayStation Productions. So Sony are okay with making a movie, but not a second game.
Now, look, I have things to say. Now, I'm very opinionated tonight, apparently. So, Max, do you want to jump in about Days Gone before I talk about it?
Well, I don't think I'm the right person to talk about it because I've never played the game.
Oh, okay. Well, then here I swoop right on in. Look, at least it's not Chris Pratt. All right. First of all, I completely forgot his name was Deacon St. John, which still sounds like a fucking porn actor, which is very hysterical. I loved Days Gone. Unapologetically, I love that game. I think that game.
I mean, you've got a big heart on for motorcycles, so it makes sense.
I absolutely don't. For me, what I really enjoyed about it was at its core, it was a heartfelt story, right? And yes, it was a bit long in the tooth, but I really, really enjoyed it. The way it handled like the herd, the herd of the freakers, the relationship between Deacon and his buddy, whose name was it Bruiser? Brody? Whatever fucking Bowser, whatever his name was. Obviously, I don't care about the game that much. That was really cool because it was that weird kind of like ride or die brotherly love of an MC, and then as you sort of experience different settlements, I guess. Boozer, thank you, Puck. With different settlements, you sort of see how different people are responding. Excuse me. To the state of the world, and then the idea that it could so be heavily connected to Siphon Filter, delicious. The fact that they held on to the swarms, the herds, whatever the fuck, until the back end of the game, real weird. It was a game that you could clearly see that Sony Bend were learning as they were developing the game, because the game starts out kind of rough and just gets better and better, and more mechanics grow and the world gets cooler, the story gets better, like how they deliver missions gets better. With this being such a story-driven game, with some great scenic, places, because Oregon's quite attractive, it's very... I don't know, like there's such a good aesthetic about it, especially when not many games games take place in Oregon, let alone movies, right? So I can understand why they'd want to put it into a different medium. I think it'd be great, and I can't fucking wait. Especially interesting thankfully, I think there's been enough time between now and World War Z that they probably can get away with like fucking piles and piles of zombies. But zombies are very much a pun intended dead trope. In that, Dead Island 2 got announced this week, and no one, I've re-announced. No one, that game originally came out in the fervor of zombies, and now they're kind of fucking done. So
they have kind of been played out.
Yeah,
and overused.
I would love to watch this movie, and I'm very much going to, but I also feel that burn of, we're not going to give you a sequel, but we think your story's good enough to make it into a movie. We think it's good enough to be transmedia, as they say, or cross media. But we ain't greenlighting the sequel.
I mean, maybe if the movie sells well,
potentially. But by then, the two individuals that made it,
doing something else.
Garvin and what's the other whose name fucking escapes me right now. Yeah, they're long gone. They left. Mm. So the people that helped, the people that were involved in Siphon Filter, the people that were involved in Days Gone ain't around. So unless they decide to call them and go, hey, can you come back and do Days Gone 2? We're really sorry, which won't happen. I'm pretty sure they would then just give them the finger back as well. It's tough news, man. It's tough news.
All yours.
Oh, it's just me. Oh, I thought this was all part of the same one. This one's called The Cultish Ways. Following on from last week's insinuations from Microsoft that Sony is paying to keep games off Xbox Game Pass, a podcast rumor claimed that PlayStation had paid to prevent the Australian-made independent game Cult of the Lamb from being included in the service. Considering the game doesn't have a marketing deal with Sony, and it is not one of all the non-existent PS Plus games this month, the suggestion that the company would pay to purposefully prevent a release from being included into a rival subscription service, is already ludicrous. But it would appear that the source, Gary Whitta of the soon-to-be devastatingly shithouse game Forspoken, was speaking on the Kind of Funny live stream. They had got that information from a Twitter account. Now, look, Twitter has been a good source of news here, there, and the other. There's some great leaks that come from it. Not from an individual with 28 followers, however. Of course, that didn't stop the paper-thin rumor from spreading all over the internet and even picked up by many reputable news websites. It's safe to assume that individual has slightly more followers now. Devolver Digital was forced...
He does not.
Yes! Devolver Digital was forced to put out a statement telling the gamer the story is, quote, absolutely untrue. Max, what a fucking dumb rumor.
Yeah.
Now, look. No, guys, are you guys reputable? No. We have slightly more followers, and I wouldn't believe the shit that we say. Well, I'd like you to. Thank you for listening to the show. But we also don't have connections or rumor mills, whatever. I think there's only been like a handful of times where I've actually been told something before it's dropped, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, I could leak this, but
no one would believe me.
Who would believe me? I'm a hard nobody, and like clearly this guy with 28 followers is like, although as much as I would love to hear.
The tweeting question was Gary Whitta tweeting, Cult of the Lamb is not on Games Pass, crying face, crying face, crying face. And then the guy responds, that's because Sony paid for it not to be there. And then all of a sudden it just fucking went for it. It was crazy.
Okay, so hang on. This rumor mill really has nothing to do with PlayStation and Microsoft. It's just Gary Whitta, a dude who has more than enough money. He wrote Rogue One, for fuck's sake. Allegedly he wrote Forspoken. I wish he hadn't, because it reads like ass. He has money, and you're telling me that he won't pay the $30 to buy Massive Monsters' independent second game they've ever made. He won't pay the $30 for the game. Not happening. Nah, instead, I have to have it on Games Pass. That is the problem with Games Pass. I've hard frozen. I've angered so hard, I've frozen my camera. Give me one sec. I'm back. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he is not someone that can't afford the game. And he's like, oh, it's not on Game Pass. I bet Sony fucking did it. I'm sorry. Fucking hell. He bought it. He was just sad it wasn't on Games Pass. Oh, I had to spend my money. It's like us going, oh man, we didn't get a review key. Fuck not. We're not going to play one of the greatest games of the year. Not happening. We got a code. I wish I could buy the game again. I might just buy it for funsies. It's awesome.
So good.
But look, we discussed last week. I'm on real ranty tonight. My Ritalin worn out fucking hours ago. You're
about to get ranty again soon.
This is
peak. The final story is a kicker.
This is peak ADHD Betson, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you are in for a shit time. I'm so sorry, but I'm not. This is what 6 people pay for on Patreon. But look,
blame them.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. There is it's standard industry practice to prevent people, like, you pay for someone to not use certain products. It happens in stores. Like, Coke pay a lot of money for McDonald's to have Coke, not Pepsi. Vice versa, right? Pepsi pay a lot of money for KFC to just use Pepsi.
Fun fact, just to,
yes,
while you're on this topic, KFC in New Zealand has Coke. And Coke with KFC is the greatest thing ever.
Okay, well there you go. See? But that's essentially part of it. Like, do I think it's okay? Yeah. Nah, it's fine. But okay. Like it doesn't seem like this brutal anti-consumer practice. Look, every like 90% of the individuals that are bitching about anti-consumer activities on social media or the internet, they have actually no idea what a real anti-consumer marketplace or action from a company is. They just because they didn't get what they want, it's deemed anti-consumer. No, that's entitlement. The truth is that like it's anyone in the Western world really has no idea what an actual anti-consumer company is. Really. Even me, I really have no idea. All I know is that like looking at the framework and whichever that is anti-consumerism, having someone go, I'm going to make sure it goes on every service, but not on this particular part of that service, is anti-consumer. Whatever. Says the same company that's just bought up a big fucking half ton of the available developers.
It's weird how every time Sony gets an exclusive, they're made out to be like the big villains, and yet they're the only people that are not buying entire companies.
Yeah, they create business deals. We're not going to buy the cow. We're just going to get the milk, and we're going to sell the milk exclusively. The cow is still available. That cow can provide milk, different rounds of milk, to any other company they would like. That is I believe, the correct business attitude. That is truly like pro-consumer, because you're not choking out the market for the benefit of yourself. And I'm sorry, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, it is disgusting that Microsoft have so little faith in the studios that they currently own, that the only way they can believe they can make money and support the service that they have created and like the whole that they have created in the industry is to just buy more studios. That is not the answer. Support in-house, grow studios, have them make fucking games. Not fucking games, but games that are good. Like if you want to make, like, look, if you made a fucking game, a game with hard fucking in it, I can only imagine that would sell really, really well.
Except in Australia where it'll be banned.
Except in Australia, it'll be hard banned. And then someone will be like, "That's anti-consumer. I want full penetration in my video games." I've really derailed myself. No, in the chat goes, and they are bankrolling it to begin with, so of course they can decide the platform. Exactly. That is true anti-consumer.
Let's talk some old school versus new school. So, discussing Final Fantasy games can be divisive at times.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about it.
Especially amongst the most dedicated fans. Each game is different, featuring its own combat mechanics, systems, and stories. Everyone has their favorite, which is Final Fantasy VIII, which usually just so happens to be the first game they played in the series. Naoki Yoshida knows this and is getting out in front of it in the case of the next mainline entry in the series, Final Fantasy XVI, a project on which he serves as producer. In an interview with the Japanese site Comic Days, which comes via VGC, Yoshida speaks to the concerns some more old school fans may feel about the series' shift to a more action-based combat. Quote, "We want the world, especially the younger generation, to play the game. Also, the mainstream games nowadays are intuitive games where you press a button and the character shoots a gun or wields a sword, and the traditional RPG style of turn-based command fighting is no longer familiar to them. It is also a fact that people are becoming less familiar with old-fashioned style RPGs, where you fight by selecting turn commands. That's why the battles in Final Fantasy XVI are very action-based. We want to make people all over the world think that Final Fantasy is a great game." Of course,
nice try.
I don't think we'll be able to satisfy everyone's demands. So I've told everyone on the team that the first thing we need to do is to make something that we think is fun and make sure it reaches the people who like it. Role-playing games originated with tabletop RPGs, and I think that gaming RPGs were invented by replacing the tabletop discussions with commands inside the video game. As I said, I believe I know the fun of the command system RPGs, and I want to continue developing them, but I thought about the expected sales of Final Fantasy XVI and the impact that we have to deliver.
So I'll let you discuss the Final Fantasy side of this, and then we can talk turn-based versus action.
So, I'm obviously a big a fan of early Final Fantasy games. I love turn-based combat. It's what I grew up playing. It's what I enjoy in that series and in that style of games. I love role-playing games that are turn-based. Now, I still love action games and all that. I think some games have handled it quite nicely where they have that mixture of action and command, similar to that of, I think, Final Fantasy 15 did it. Kingdom Hearts has been doing it their entire series, where they have commands down the side, but you're still free roaming and essentially playing an action adventure game. If done well, it can be great. I hope this does that. Would I have preferred... my biggest gripe with Final Fantasy VII Remake was that it wasn't turn-based. Like, I was just hoping it was going to be pretty, but have the same core mechanics as the original game. And they're like, we kind of have that in the easy mode where everyone attacks automatically for you and you just select what skills and abilities and magics to use. And that kind of...
It's not the answer.
It just doesn't feel the same. It kind of takes some sort of agency away from the player when it automates things. And it's just not the same. Now, not to say that I think he has a point, and this new generation of gamer is so used to having action-based combat, action-based gameplay, that it makes sense to have that shift. Because at some point, you do have to change with what is becoming the norm to a degree. If you're following what I'm saying. So
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Hopefully
it's good. Like, I'm going to check it out regardless. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan from way back when. It sucks that they had to make this change, but I can understand why they had to make this change.
Yeah,
please don't do that.
I get it. I'm very similar to yourself. I get it. I understand their reasoning why they'd have to transition to action, because that is what people want to play. Like, I guess outside of Final Fantasy, because I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy, most people might know I tend to keep it pretty secret. But yeah, Final Fantasy is not for me.
He's got a tattoo on his arse cheek that just says, "I fucking hate Final Fantasy."
It's in a lovely cursive though, so it's really nice. But no, it's one of those things where, like, it's interesting. Like, when you started talking about this, I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, I fucking dig turn-based games. And then my brain filled in the rest, and I went, actually, if you were to pull out a turn-based game in front of me right now, I'd be like, ooh, that feels old. It is fascinating how, like, my brain went to that different space where, like, having that turn-based system does feel old. Like, not archaic, but old. And you know, it's difficult because we look at successes of like Persona 5, which really grabbed and ran with the turn-based stuff and it delivered in such a way. And I think the difference is that it hits a different part of your brain. Like, there's a lot more strategy involved with playing turn-based. Because in the very similar as it referred to in tabletop role-playing games, it's strategy. Like, you have information at hand that allows you to play better. You're not being reactive. You're being proactive. And I personally love that so much more. You know what I mean? Like, I want to look into the encounter and go, But saying that, though, I'm also clearly not smart enough to really process the full extent at which turn-based systems can work. Because I know that I'm a bit shit. Because I think about my time playing Pokemon and how I never use any status effects. I think about all the other turn-based games I use and I really focus on like damage and defense. I never think about status and buffs and this, that, the other. So like I essentially play like an action-based player, but in turn-based. So I certainly understand the mix up there and why people like a certain way or the other. But Buddy, what's in the chat goes, I played and loved so many turn-based RPGs as a kid and now hate or have no interest in that gameplay. I guess it's one of those things, like you can either have nostalgia for it or resentment for it. Like you go, oh man, that's how it used to be. It was so good. Or it's, man, I can't go back. That's so, it feels so old.
Like we've had all these uptakes, like, you know, we had Octopath Traveler a few years back.
Yeah.
We've had, and they, you know, they to a degree saw success, and they are that old school turn-based RPG. It's just, I guess it also played a difference in the fact that it was a 2.5D game, and it lends itself to that style of gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, because it clearly channeled that old style of game.
Whereas Final Fantasy has definitely shifted into these full 3D, open world, big, grandiose areas where it seems detrimental to be like, oh, you've run into an enemy. We're going to pop you on an enemy screen. We're going to make everything 2D. You're going to attack in turn. And
do you think that's
I can see how that it would interrupt the flow of the gameplay by doing something like that.
Actually, that's very true, because even with like Final Fantasy 15, which I did try to play, by the way, it's one of those things where the second you go, pew, and then you're in this suddenly little fight scenario, I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know, so I guess like maybe it's one of those things. It's just like, yeah, maybe it's something that only really works in that 2D or 2.5D delivery method. Like that's where turn-based really works. But just saying that though, once again, I got to use Persona as that example, because Persona 3D has a little, but the music's so much better than that. You know, it has these little battle scenarios. Like it's interesting. Like Child of Light, as Shane brings up in the chat, had a very interesting turn-based system. It was all based around like different speed. So like, yeah, it was all turn-based, but like some characters' turns would come quicker than someone else's. So like, there's this little like, I think it was at the bottom, like a little bar.
Yeah,
and like someone would come across and someone would go, just because they have to have more speed or something.
I think they had something similar in Octopath Traveler. I know Final Fantasy X used a similar system to that, where you could see how the turn order would change depending on like which attack you use, because some attacks had higher speed than others and would put you higher in the priority list. So,
but once again, Child of Light 2D.
Yeah,
it's tough one. Well, let us, you know, let's all be fucking YouTubers about it. Let us know in the comments below. Do you think it's the fact that it's 2D or 3D that's affecting the use of turn-based combat or action combat? You know, let us know. Comments below in the down below area, or head up our social media. Links in the description. You know, fucking like and subscribe. There you go. I hate being fucking that YouTubey stuff. All right, here's the big final news of the week. It's the one that named the episode. All your devs belong to us. What a relevant
We're not talking about Microsoft.
We're not about Microsoft this time. What an incredibly relevant use of a news title there, Max. Did you do that on purpose because you knew that one of the teams? Yeah, well done. All right, the ever-growing Embracer Group has announced another wave of Embrace, with acquisitions that sees it take its ownership of, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit IPs via the acquisition of Middle-earth Enterprises. It is also,
I like the way they don't own the rights. They bought the person that owns the rights.
Yeah, they own the rights to the guy that owned the rights, that picked the rights up from this corner shop over there, who owns the, you know, it's just this string of fucking nonsense. But pull out the soapbox. No! Do you know me well or what? It has also brought Man-Eater Studio, Tripwire Interactive, Teardown Team, Tuxedo Labs, and physical game publisher Limited Run Games, and the firm's first Japanese developer in Tatsujin. Rounding the company's latest wave of purchases is accessory brand Geotech, Swedish team Bitwave Games, and Syntrix, a team focusing on, quote, vocal processing effect technology for karaoke gaming and equipment, end quote. The Embracer Group actually has a 9th acquisition lined up, but it's not going to announce this one just yet. Ooh, it's an end credit sequence for fucking acquisitions. What is this? What we do know what we do know is it's, quote, another company within PC/console gaming, end quote. Who would have fucking thought? And apparently the reason they have announced is because it's going to clash with one of their other purchases or something. And like the idea is that it's going to affect something in some way. So in other words, they fucking bought Harry Potter or something. Holy shit, they may have bought Harry Potter. Oh shit! Like they own fucking PopC Games.
PopC Games.
Someone with 29 followers, tweet that shit.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. If you want fucking random podcast rumors, done. Embracer Group, their next purchase is PopC Games. Owning Middle-earth Enterprises means Embracer Group now has access to, quote, a vast intellectual property catalog and worldwide rights to motion pictures, video games, board games, merchandising, theme parks, and stage production relating to the iconic fantasy literary works, The Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. They then followed up with a quote saying, that Amazon series looks a little bit shit, so we're going to can it right now. That part's not true. But you can also put that on Twitter. Why not? It means the company now has a financial interest in Amazon's latest TV show, The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, out on 2nd of September 2022. It also has a keen eye on The Lord of the Rings Golem. If suddenly...
Which recently got delayed.
Yeah, which is delayed indefinitely. Probably for this reason. It's one of those things where, like, I guarantee you, it's like very similar to the new Warner Discovery, whatever. There's like going to can Batgirl. Like suddenly was going to can fucking Golem or can the Amazon series. Meanwhile, the purchase of Limited Run Games hands the team the chance to expand its reach and take on more physical projects. Embracer Group CEO Lars Wingfors says, quote, they've built a strong brand that resonates with players. We see opportunities for Limited Run to further grow their business with the Carbon engine by bringing back classic games and extend their footprint geographically through synergies and with other companies within Embracer Group. So, Max, you go first, and then we'll have a chat.
They're the Embracer conglomerate now. Yeah. So obviously we've both spoken about just buying shit up, and Embracer have. Apparently, this deal wasn't even remotely close to being the highest deal in like games acquisition. Microsoft still have that record. I'm worried that we're now just going to see an absolute fuckload of shit Lord of the Rings games. It's cool in the fact that Limited Run Games now has a big backer behind them. So hopefully they get to do more cool stuff because what they do is actually really awesome. And Embracer Group kind of have this gigantic back catalog of shit because they own everyone. So Limited Run Games have got a lot of stuff that they can choose from now. It is concerning that they're just doing stuff like this. I don't know. I look forward to hearing you rant about this.
The thing for me is that there's a lot of things at play here. And I guess the biggest thing is the public perception of this. The Embracer Group have, just because they're not spending as much money, there seems to be this collective joke that, someone else has got brought up by Embracer Group. Hey, after this announcement, what did you see? Hey, I want to formally announce that I, as an individual, have been picked up. Hey, your mum's being brought as a member of the Embracer Group. Like, there seems to be this chuckle at the idea.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is that they're also third party.
Yeah, is it because they're all double A games primarily?
Well, I mean, they own what, Gearbox and they own some big girls.
They own a lot. Like, they do own some AAA spaces. However, it's one of these things where they're not in the games buying business. They're in the IP buying industry, right? That's their business. That's their model is not buying studios. They are buying IP. So what they'll essentially do is they'll have all this giant fucking drawer full of intellectual property they can fuck with, and they'll farm it out to the 200 and something studios they have. I'm exaggerating, but there's a fuck ton of studios. And one of the things I originally did like about Embracer was the idea that they were buying up, like, not the buying up part, but like they were diversifying their purchases. Like, they weren't just buying dev studios. They weren't just doing a Microsoft. They were also buying up, platform, publishers and this, that, the other, like every part of the chain. So the idea is that they could own the entire production line from development through to release. And then we see that here with limited run games. Now, limited run from memory, like they do well, but not well enough to really do a whole lot or grow or do more. And especially if you're in the IP business, if you have a company that makes cool sellable shit, like plastic shit, whatever, to people that just buy it because it's an IP they love or care for, you're in the right space. You know what I mean? And like the industry, like the future of limited runs is only going to get better. So the idea that, it's horrible that there's so much acquisition and mergers going on right now, and Embracer is the big center of it. Yeah, but they're about to release this plastic fucking statue that I'm really excited for. So I care less that everything's being bought by the same company. It's still certainly better than the likes of Tencent or that. There's another one that comes out of China, which is Tencent in disguise. There's the one out of Saudi Arabia. Like, there's a couple other companies that were trying to do the same thing. And this is, I guess, a slightly better one is. But even then, it's like, what's the deal? Like, if you're listening to some other podcasts, they talk about the financial side of this, right? The organic growth of the Embracer Group is at negative 12%. They are actually losing money in growth. The only dollar value growth that they have obtained is because of the purchase of these studios. Now, granted, because they're buying them so many and so frequently, like they never are in a position where those studios are going to make money. And the difficulty is they own so many studios, so many different IP, that are they half expecting just things to come out and just destroy each other? Like, are you telling me there's no way that they're going to accidentally release 2 games in a similar window of similar space? Like, will they just rather have 6 games come out at the same time? That let's own them, let's flood the market rather than have one game that just does the best it can in that space. Yeah. It's a very difficult space. Like, for me, I think the biggest challenge that I have is this collective joke about Embracer buying everything, how it's okay because they're the ones because it's all games that no one really gives a fuck about. It's all middle of the range stuff. It's like, cool, they're fine. It's just fine. Like, they're just nobodies. But I'm sorry, someone that can buy everything, including the Lord of the Rings, like they own everything the Lord of the Rings has outside of the books themselves. And I don't fear that they'll make a bunch of shitty games because the Lord of the Rings is cool. And the Tolkien verse, universe, or intellectual property, whatever. I really wonder how deep there is lore to fuck with. Like, outside of the main Lord of the Rings games. The Hobbits. And there's the Silmarillion or whatever. And we've got that series that no one really cares about. Like, the franchise doesn't have the love and respect it once had. So, even if you look at the last 2 Lord of the Rings games that came out with Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, that left a sour taste in people's mouths because of the insane microtransaction filled version. And even so, they own the proprietary rights to the one thing that made the game cool, which was the Nemesis system, which is owned by EA. It's not owned by the Monolith. It's not owned by the whatever. Like, it's not, no matter even if they happen to use their ownership of the Lord of the Rings IP to make their own Shadow of Mordor, and they go, well, Shadow of Hodor, they bring Game of Thrones in it for some reason. Because the next thing you know, they're going to buy fucking Game of Thrones. There you go. If it's not fucking Portkey Games, they are buying George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. And the reason they haven't announced it yet is because if they announce it, then they'll realize that they own both House of the Dragon, which comes out tomorrow or today, at day of release, and the Amazon series. And they don't want to cannibalize each other. So they'll go, once the series is ended or both series are running and not doing well, we can go, hey, we own both of these subpar TV series. Yeah, that's, I don't know where I was going with that. The idea is the things that made those games cool weren't the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then Gollum looks fucking dead. In the chat, Buddy Watson adds, and they don't have a platform they can hold all these IPs on and keep off competitors. Very, very true. And that is one advantage to them comparatively, I guess. But that still doesn't take away the overall impact of them owning all these companies. But yeah, because they just can't restrict it to a platform. And then Shane jumps in and goes, I'm curious what their end game is. I also have no idea what their end game is. Are they here to stay as a major publisher, or are they just building to one day cash out? And that's my other thing as well. Like, to me, this feels like a giant bubble within the gaming space, in that everyone's suddenly worth a lot more than they really should be. Everyone's bought together. And then the second, like right now, like the Embracer group are very aware they're not making money because they're just buying, right? Similar to Microsoft, they're just buying because they're not making enough money on the particular thing they want to work with. So what happens when they realize that there is no return on investment? They've bought too much. They've spread themselves too thin. Then what? They
sell Lord of the Rings.
They start selling these IP again, but for staggeringly less than what they're worth, because I argue right now that everything that's being bought at the price they are inflated prices because of this current appetite, right? It's housing market. It's the same as the housing market, right? Housing prices are fucking stupid, but they're about to drop real hard. So all these things, so then you look at all these studios that have all these people, because this influx of money, all their staff are getting paid more, this, that, the other. And then suddenly all these studios have to close or downsize because they could no longer afford to remain open, let alone to pay all these individuals. So there's all these workers that are suddenly out on their ass, but the only thing they can do is take a massive pay cut, leaving potential massive risk for the individuals that work within the space. There is no positive way. Like, as cynical and skeptical as I am in my daily life, I think it's a very high percentage. I have limited doubt in my mind that there will come a time where all this will backfire. But I'm happy to be proved wrong. No, also adds, and then George R. R. Martin will crack the shits that the ending is wrong, even if he hadn't finished the damn books yet. Well, that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy the rights and fucking tie him to a chair and make him finish it. It's like, stop rocking up in Kojima games, you fuck, and just make the damn books. Shane adds a bit of extra thought here. I don't see an industry bubble, but mismanagement at different publishers will lead to their own collapse, like THQ years ago, which is ironic because the Embracer Group is built upon THQ and what became THQ Nordic and et cetera, et cetera. It's essentially potentially repeating the same path. Studios and IPs get sold off to the highest bidders. Industry is okay, though. Like, the industry itself will always continue. Games make money. They always make money. They become more expensive, but for me, what I'm thinking about here is the people that make them. Not the players. Fuck the players. It's the people that make them, right? Like, if this all goes pear-shaped, people are still going to get games to play. That doesn't change. But all the people that make them get fucking reamed instantly. And that's the major. That's for me is part of the concern, because there will always be more games to play. Always. I really hope someone does fucking pick up the portkey rumor that we just made up, or the Game of Thrones one.
I hope someone tags Gary Whitta early, and it's just a huge ragging on him.
Yeah, fuck him. Like, anyway. If he's claiming that he wrote there is no way that Gary Whitta, the gentleman that wrote Rogue One, wrote Forspoken. Because, did I just move that with my freaking mind? That is not the same person. It can't be. Like, the trailers for Forspoken are garbage. It's so shit. The gameplay looks fine. The world looks okay. But, I can't. I just
Didn't Amy Hennig?
And Amy Hennig's apparently involved in it somehow.
Well.
Is this... Are they just in as executive producers to put the name on it, but they just looked at the script once?
No, they're listed as writers.
Ew. Did they, write a sentence? Because if they had written a big hunk of this game, I would get my name scrubbed from it. I'm like, can you please take me off? Because you make me look really bad.
All right. Let's move on to quick bits. Some good news. Gotham Knights PS5 has gone gold.
Hey!
If you want to play the Modern Warfare 2 campaign a week before it's released, pre-order it digitally, because you get the campaign a week early with digital pre-orders on PS5 and PS4.
Interesting decision. Because as we know, like the profit margin with a digital version is staggeringly higher than any physical edition because you're not paying for printing and discs and this, that, the other. So like, cool, pay us more. We get more dollars. No one plays the campaign anyway. You're going to pre-order it for multiplayer. If anything, it's reassuring that someone will play the campaign.
Yeah. Sony pulls leaked footage of PlayStation 5's Helldivers 2.
Yeah, I know a good friend, Padge, at Player 2, at Paul James Games, is like rock hard for Helldivers 2. I don't think I ever played Helldivers 1. I don't think.
A Plague Tale Requiem has gone gold.
Nah, bro. Too many meese.
And this guy has it preloaded ready to go.
Fucking nerd.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is not only a mouthful, but has been rated in Australia.
Speaking of rock hard, Max, how are you with that news?
Yeah, pretty good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Kingdom Bridge of Spirits is getting a massive update, including a new game plus.
I'm not going to go back, but cool.
And get yourself hyped for the end of days with the God of War story recap, Myths of Midgard.
Yes! So, this week over at PlayStation's social medias, YouTube's, whichever, they did release essentially this massive video. It was, what's her name? She's in Critical Role.
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day. Huh? Felicia Day is the narrator for this, and I think Mimir's in there a little bit as well. And
Supernatural fame.
Yeah, and essentially recaps everything that took place in God of War. So if you're heading into Ragnarok and you need a refresher, go check out that video because it is a nice recap of one of the greatest games ever made, in my personal opinion. The idea is you could replay the game. It was free on PS Plus. It was originally, and it's also now free as part of this one. It was, if you have a PS5 as part of that collection too. So there's no reason you shouldn't play it. It's like 25 hours, not even, if you play it sort of down the line.
The video is faster.
The video is not 30 hours, so I guess I can see why that would be a better incentive. But the gameplay is so good. The story is so great. I would much prefer you do that. And there's enough time between now and November that it actually won't hurt you to play it now. Like if it was October right now, I'd be like, probably don't play it. Because go, if you go and play Ragnarok and it's a little bit too much of the same, so you go, this is suddenly not as impressive. But fucking hard aroused for God of War Ragnarok. But until then, you've got if you're not going to go back and play God of War this week, which you probably should because it's really, really good. There are some other games that are coming out this week in the section called New Games this week. Cloudpunk comes to PS5 on August 19th. Madden NFL 23 comes to PS5 and PS4 on August 19th. Midnight Fight Express comes to PS4 on August 23rd. Saints Row on PS5 and PS4 does come out on August 23rd. It is 2 days away at the time of recording, Max. You're bang on. Soul Hackers 2 comes to PS5 and PS4 on August 24th. Shin-Chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation. The Endless 7-Day Journey, PS4. The kissing isn't part of the title. It just feels like a very kissy game. I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. That's hot. PS5 and 4 August 25th, a prequel to the Summer Vacation with My Professor. Idol Manager, PS5, PS4 August 25th. SD Gundam Battle Alliance, PS5 and PS4 August 25th. And Pac-Man World Repack, PS5/4 August 26th. All right, the answer is clearly Shin-Chan, Me and the Professional Summer Vacation. The Endless 7-Day Journey. This is essentially going to be Call Me By Your Name, the video game. For those who don't know, Call Me By Your Name is a really cool artsy film with that Chalamet kid that everyone has like boners for. It's this love story between this young gentleman and an older man. It's actually a really good movie. He has sexual intercourse with a peach. It's really weird. But the movie's really good. And if this game is anything like that movie, which I highly doubt that it is, don't play it. Because it's not going to be that movie. Saints Row. The answer is Saints Row.
The big one is, the obvious one is obviously Midnight Fight Express. It looks great. Are you kidding me?
Justified. Shane jumps in and goes, justified bonus. Thank you very much. He's a treat. Big fan of Charlemagne is that Shane. I didn't know that. There you go. But wait, what's Midnight Fight? Are you just being smart? What the fuck's Midnight Fight Express?
Midnight Fight Express is that one that's been developed by that single dude. It's like that fucking fighting game on the kind of like Sifu, but not Sifu.
Yeah, but I have Sifu.
It was shown off at like a bajillion set of players.
Oh, okay.
It looks awesome. But no,
Which one, so if I look at it, I'll go, oh yeah, that one.
you'll know it's yeah.
Nah, Saints Row, as I said at the start of the show, for some reason is itching me. Like Saints Row seems right up my alley. Like it seems that it's not quite as bombastic bullshit that we saw in like Saints Row 4.
Oh, we're talking about Saints Row. Yeah, cool.
But
Sorry, I kind of zoned out. For
yeah, balls to the wall, bombastic.
You were still talking about me and the
Charlemagne.
professor.
Yeah, he balls to the wall. Like it was great. Oh, well, there you go. If you head over to well-played.com.au, there is a review up right now for Midnight Fight Express. Friends of the show over there, go check them out. Please read that review. Yeah, but if it's anything like a bit more serious-ish in tone, like Saints Row 2, but with a bit of silly in it, like then I'm fucking keen. And looking at the trailers and the footage, etc., it's like it's silly enough, but not like superhero, you're the president of the United States bullshit that we saw in Saints Row 3 and 4. Or Get Out of Hell, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Probably my main pickup.
Cool.
Anything else?
I think that's everything.
Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this week, and I really hope you like the sound of my own voice, because apparently I do, and this week is just good 75% of me talking about something. And look, am I correct? I don't know, but I said it passionately.
That you did. Well, everyone, this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to join us in future conversations with us, you can come and check out our socials: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those links can be found in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculturist, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can jump in the chat and become part of the show. If you want to support this show, you can. Tell your friends, tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you are listening on podcast services, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment. And if you support us financially, you can at patreon.com/popculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And as Shane in the chat says, shouting it makes it true. Content creation 101.